All right, we are live, but it looks like okay, here we go. Okay, well, we are back again with another episode of Silver Lining TV, where we motivate and inspire people to create a better life through real estate. And again, I am joined with Lauren. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And then today's episode, we're going to talk about the current state of the real estate market here in July 2022. And we're going to give you guys an unfiltered version, meaning you may watch the news, the media, you may even talk to
Mm-hmm.
family members, friends, and everybody has a different message. And what we're going to do is talk about the reality of what's happening in the market. Now, we'll give you some insight on what's happening in the market nationwide, but more importantly, for us, we're going to really be hyper local in what's happening in our market
Mm-hmm.
and actually what the benefits can be for you if you're deciding to get into the market this
Yeah.
year, or at least right now, because we can only speak for what's happening today, not what's going to happen a year from now or even 6 months from now. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And we may go a
Let's
little
talk.
longer today because we can really go on about
Yeah.
this. I guess before we go on, if you have any comments, negative, positive, have questions, whatever it may be, put them in the comment section. We'll be happy to address them. And
Mm-hmm.
if there's some questions, I know a lot of people have questions. Please, it's those questions that is going to help us drive the, I guess you could say, the content in this video, making sure that we're helping people and giving them the clarity they need.
Yeah.
So let's hop into it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start this
Okay.
actually. So now, if you've been living under a rock, maybe you're not aware that things are different. Okay, and when I say things, I'm not just referring to um, real estate. I'm talking about the economy overall. If you drive a car, you probably notice that gas prices are a little more expensive. As a matter of fact, I believe I saw in California, maybe prices were up to about $7 a gallon or something crazy like
Yeah.
that, right? Maybe you've tried to buy lumber. I mean, those skyrocketed in prices over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
You probably heard of this thing called inflation, the inflation rate being 6, 7, 8, 9%. Okay. You probably even heard things about early in the year where there was a war, or was a conflict overseas, and there's been a lot of things going on. And typically, when something happens, stocks, crypto,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stocks and crypto. I do participate in stocks and crypto, and obviously, there's been a big drop in those values, right? But a lot of conversations that I've been hearing, considering I'm in real estate, we're in real
Right.
estate, is the market possibly crashing, the home values are going to go down, blah 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 blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever something happens in the economy, yes, there is typically going to be a shift in the real estate industry as well, in the market. And
Mm-hmm.
I will be here to say there has been a shift.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about there's been a real estate shift for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
So we're currently in a shift. But a shift does not mean a correction, and a shift does not mean a crash.
Right.
Okay. So let me throw it to you a little bit. Let's talk. Let's talk to the people about what we have been experiencing as real estate agents in today's market when we're working with buyers. Let's talk about that. What has the experience been like? The conversations you've been having, and how have you been navigating through the market as you're helping buyers today?
Yeah. So recently, just like in the past few weeks, even a few months ago when I first started, it was we need to go see this house right away.
Mhm.
Like same day. If you can't, it's probably not going to be there tomorrow. These past few weeks, we have been seeing, okay, well, maybe we could go see it tomorrow.
Mhm.
Maybe. Depending on price point, it probably still is going to be there.
Mhm.
That's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
It's easier for buyers because not everybody can just drop and go.
Right.
So
So pause real quick. Excuse me. She's talking from the perspective of a buyer who's interested in buying a home, who now, in a way, has a little more leverage
yes.
in the market. I'm not saying, and she's not saying this buyer is going to be able to get this, huge discount on a home right now, because the reality is, in our market at least, home values are still increasing.
Yeah.
But what she did mention, if you paid attention, is that homes are sitting a little longer now, especially in a higher price point. So
Yes.
that allows a buyer more time to not only see the property, but to make a decision. Okay, so I want to make sure that they caught that.
Yeah, I was about to say, and I've talked to a few people that they either worked with a different agent or they had closed recently, and they were like, we just didn't feel like we had enough time, or we weren't guided in the right direction. And some people didn't get inspections, or they were told, well, you won't get your offer accepted with certain circumstances. And so with houses sitting a little bit longer, you can now potentially get those inspections.
Yeah.
And we don't ever not get an inspection because it's just not fair.
Yeah, at that point, I always recommend any of my clients to get an inspection, because you got to know what you're buying. I mean, unless you have experience, as maybe you have experience buying homes and you know what to look for. But even then, I recommend getting an inspection. So in today's market, you have more leverage to be able to get an inspection. I mean, there were times in I think 2021, 2020, 2019, 2020, even last year, where we've had clients that wrote offers on homes sight unseen.
Yeah.
Think about that, okay? And we're going to talk about why this is happening, okay? But does that mean that we're in a crash or a correction just because homes now that would sell typically in a day are now sitting for a week, right? No, it just means that as a buyer, you have more time to think. You have a little more leverage to make sure that you don't have to do an appraisal gap as often anymore, which an appraisal gap is saying whatever price, if you got an offer on a property, let's say 30 grand over asking price, an appraisal gap just says that you're telling the seller that if it doesn't appraise at the amount that we agreed to, the purchase price, me, the buyer, will make up the difference, meaning we'll bring extra cash to close.
Right.
Okay. You're not seeing those as often, right? You're seeing actually buyers save more money these days because of not as many appraisal gaps. They're able to negotiate closing costs a little more often now. They're able to get an inspection, so they're more clear on the type of property that they're purchasing. Okay. Would you consider that a good market to be in if you're a buyer?
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I have some buyers now that I'm like, if you're crazy not to take this opportunity, if you're already pre-approved and you are already looking at houses, because like you said, houses are sitting longer, you can negotiate more, you're able to do more things than you were a month ago.
Yeah. And that's how fast it changes, right? So what is causing this? Because we're gonna talk about on the seller side too, what that impact is like. Because again, we got to talk about the truth.
Yeah.
Interest rates. Oh my God, mortgage rates have increased. They're in the 5s now.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? This market is very similar to 2019. 2019, 2017, 2018. These interest rates were here a couple years ago. And I think what is happening is the people who took advantage of the low rates they took advantage. Good for them. I was one of them, by the way.
Right.
And due to maybe how accomplished they feel in the rates being low, and maybe the people they were talking to, family, friends, coworkers, I secured a 2.5. I secured a 3. Oh, they're 5s now? Oh my God, I'd wait for the crash. And I think what tends to happen is we forget that 2.5, 3%, those are historical lows.
Yeah.
And where we're at right now, we were just at a few years ago. Okay. And with that being said, people are still talking about waiting for a crash. What makes anybody think there's going to be a crash?
Right.
And a crash anytime soon? Like there has to be drastic things happen for a crash to happen. And I honestly believe that due to the way lenders give out loans now, they're much more strict today than they were. A lot of people refer to '08. It's just a different ballgame. They don't hand
Yeah.
out loans the same way anymore.
I was about to say, getting pre-approved, that is even a
It's strenuous
process.
now. It's a lot more difficult. Yeah. So it's one of those things to where we've had deals fall apart due to the lender being like changing up, whether it's guidelines or standards or whatever it may be. Buyers were no longer qualified to purchase, and it could be like a debt to income situation, not necessarily like anything that can't be overcome with a little more time,
Yeah.
but they are doing the necessary steps to make sure that people can really afford these homes.
Right.
And the one of the biggest reasons why there was a crash in '08 to 2012, pretty much that whole time period, because it took a couple years to recover, right? Was because people who were buying homes were, even just buying anything in general, if they had cash for it, they were still leveraging credit to purchase. Whether it was a car, a house, it didn't matter. But the people who did not have the cash for it, who maybe earn 10 grand a year, 15, 20 grand a year, were able to buy a $200,000 home. It's just different,
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, you could walk in and just say, hey, I want a $400,000 house. And they were like,
Yeah.
Hey, here you go. Go get it.
Yep. And with that, and on top of that, a little further, inventory is still low. And even though days on market, because it has slightly increased, slightly, a couple of days.
Yeah.
Active homes on market has increased slightly, but again, it's slightly. We need, and we still only have about a month and a half of inventory. That's still a seller's market. That means inventory is extremely low.
Yeah.
Extremely low. And if you're talking about even getting to a neutral market, we're talking 5 to 6 months of inventory.
Right. And then to switch to a buyer's market, it's even longer.
Right.
6 to 12 months.
Yeah. So what's driving the prices up? The supply and demand industry that we're in, real estate. What drives the prices up is inventory being low and demand continuing to be high. Yeah. So even if you had 20% of the buyers being priced out of the market due to the rates jumping up 1%, you still have such low inventory to where every home is going to at least get 1 to 2 offers on it if it's priced correctly according to the condition.
Right. I've seen plenty of houses that I'm like, you can't price it like that anymore because people are realizing, oh, well, a home might pop up tomorrow that's cheaper and better.
Absolutely.
So you have to price competitively. You can't just go, well, I want this crazy number and I know I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
It's not, because it has slowed down, but it doesn't mean homes have not been appreciating.
Right.
Okay. It just means that it's like she said, you can't just throw this number out there and expect the market to catch up to your number these days. You got to be a little more strategic in your pricing today. Okay. So let's talk about, we kind of touched on sellers right there, but I want to talk about what happened to Silverline Real Estate Group. So this is a small sample size, and again, for the people out there who are watching in California or like the coastal markets, maybe you're seeing a different trend that we're seeing, and typically that is true because you guys are bigger markets than where we're at. We're in a market of right around 170,000 people if you include Lafayette and West Lafayette. And again, we haven't really seen a major impact. I do know people in bigger markets that they have seen an impact, meaning maybe a condo market, maybe those condos are sitting at, a little more. Maybe they're doing more price reductions more often, right? Where a year ago, they were still selling within a week. Okay, I get that. But again, we can only talk on where we're experts, and that is locally, okay? And we're in a situation now to where last month, when all this chaos is going on, where people were concerned about interest rates, and again, rates have went up, for sure, but the buyers that we've been educating took advantage. The sellers that we have been educating took advantage. Last month, we helped 17 to 18 families secure a home, whether it's on the buy side or on the sell side, and they got a buyer under contract. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we got to remember is if you're going to be getting into the market, let's say you want to get in the market, but you're concerned about buying a home because the rate is now a 5.5 or a 5.6, or it could even be, you may even be able to get a 5.25 depending on your credit.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, you know what? I'm waiting for the crash. Or, you know what? That rate is too high for me. I want you to think about something real quick. What is your current living situation? Okay. Most people, by the way, who do have that concern are first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are like, you know what, it makes sense for me to still make a move, so let's do it. A lot of them are people who already have a property that they're going to sell, and they're going to either upsize or downsize, but they got equity in their home. They're going to sell it, they're going to cash out, and they're going to buy something else. But most people who have the concern about, oh, I'm going to wait and I'm going to wait for the crash or rates to go down are first-time home buyers from our experience.
Yep.
Think about this, first-time home buyer. And if I'm talking too much, it's cut me off, okay?
Very good.
First-time home buyer. To my first-time home buyers, we love you guys. We specialize in helping you guys. So this message is for you. How much has your rental rate, aka your rental payment, increased over the past couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
And how much has your home grown at the same time, or how many improvements has that home had? Or if you're in an apartment, if you're paying more every year, has there been any updates to the property? Has the property grown in size when you got more square footage? Has there been anything that benefited you and really made sense for the price to increase, for it to be legit?
Right.
Like, has there been anything? I mean, I hope you guys are really asking these questions, because rental rates, just like appreciation rates and home values, have went up. Rent interest rates, you're still getting an interest rate on, if you think about it, in your rental rate.
Mm-hmm.
An interest rate is the landlord or the apartment complex saying, okay, your rent is going to go up $50 next year.
I was going to say, last year I was paying $8.53, and then they upped it $53, and I was like, what did you do to make it go up $53?
Yep.
Because for a year my mailbox didn't even work.
Yeah. And
so
it's just, these are questions that we're trying to bring this to you so you can ask the right questions. You ask the right questions, you'll get the right answer. Okay. So if you're concerned about an interest rate, I would be more concerned about my rental rate in what I'm paying in that every year.
Well, to add to that, what is your interest rate on your car? What is the interest rate on your credit card? Because I know for a fact interest rates on credit cards can go up to 25%. So what are you paying on those? Does it really matter, or does monthly payment matter?
Exactly. Again, asking the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
What's more important, monthly payment? And here's the thing, homes are still affordable. That's the reality. Homes are still affordable. Now, keep this in mind too, because it's not about just the front end question, but let's talk about the back end question. Okay. We mentioned earlier in this episode that as a buyer, because we're going to touch on sellers, this is going to be a long episode.
Oh yeah.
As a buyer in today's market, you may know people who bought in last year's market and again got that 2.5 or that 3%, or maybe even in late 2020, they got a 2.7 or a 3.5, right? Think about this. Those same people had tons of buyers jumping in the market at the same time to secure those low rates. And again, it's a supply and demand market. If you're in a low inventory market and you have 5 to 6 offers per home, those buyers, in order to even compete to get the offer accepted, had to probably pay 5 to maybe even 10, 15, 20 grand over what the seller was asking for. What's more important to you? Paying 10, 15, 20, and there's even been times where it's 30, 40,000 over asking price. Paying that, or having a rate that's 1% higher. That's going to affect your monthly payment by $100, maybe $150 a month.
Maybe.
I would rather go with the higher rate and have more leverage in when I'm writing offers and not have to overpay, do appraisal gaps, buy sight unseen.
Right.
Think about it. So not only do you got to worry about your rental rate increasing and it's out of your control, because if you say no, you just got to move. I don't want to pay that rental increase. Okay, well, we'll find another tenant. You got to worry about that while not being able to upgrade the apartment or the home or the square footage not increasing. But you also got to worry about, well, if I were to wait for rates to go back down, I'm in a more competitive market. And then at that point, I'm going to be paying over anyways.
Yeah.
Because, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, kind of like you said, you're going to be paying more either way, because like when the market crashes, what do you think interest rates do? They go up to match what's happening. Yep. So market crashes, interest rates go up, which we don't see happening, but you just don't, it never works out the way people think it does. Yep. Because you're still going to be paying more or equal to what it is now.
Yep. And all we're doing again is giving you a different perspective, because you may be in a situation in your life right now to where it doesn't make sense to buy or it doesn't make sense to sell. And that's perfect. Again, we're not in the business to try to convince people to do something that's not best for them. But with all the misinformation out there, I mean, it is so important. It's our duty to make sure we're bringing reality to the situation. Now, I did mention that, you may, if the more competitive the market is for a buyer, the more likely, I would just say this, the more competitive the market is for a buyer, the less leverage you have. Okay. Meaning that could mean you pay a little more than you expected to in the home. That doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. So I want to make that very clear, because at the end of the day, if you paid $10,000 more than what the home or what the seller was asking for, but that means you got the home of your dreams, or you got the home that fit your family for that at that time period in your life, that's a win.
Right.
That's a win for you. Let's add on to that. Let's go deeper, because that same home now that fits your family, that you're happy about, that you come home and you're proud of to see your home that you fought hard for and now it's yours, is also appreciating a value, meaning next year you will have some equity in the home. That's still a win for you, right?
Right.
Okay. So I want to make sure that we understand that just because you even overpay, and I don't even want to use the word overpay.
Yeah.
But let's say you just pay more than what the seller was asking for in the home.
It'll make up.
It's not a loss for you.
Right.
Okay. In today's market, now you're able to most likely have more leverage to where you don't even have to, to offer more than what the seller is asking for. So all we're saying is that is the positive in today's market, because the rates are what they are. We can't control that. But historically, the rates are still lower than what the average is. Okay. So if you're in a 5, when the average is 8% over the time of rates being a thing, on average, they're 8%. You're getting a 5%.
Right.
It's not a historical rate, but the reality is you're in a less competitive market now. So there you go. Okay. Right. All right. I think we beat that down.
I think we did.
We did. Because that's the reality. That is the reality. Now we're going to talk about sellers real quick. Excuse me. We have to understand that if you are going to get into the market as a seller, you need to be very, very clear on what type of market you are now in. And it's your agent, and again, this video will be helpful, but your agent, it will be their duty to make sure that you understand what the reality of the market is on the seller side. You don't want to position your home in today's market and have you catching the market. Meaning, a year ago, you put your home on the market. Your home, very similar to the one that sold a month ago, sold for, let's say, $250,000. You put your home on the market, $10,000 above at 260 or 265 or whatever. And And then you're like, okay, cool, we'll just do that because the last one sold for 250. I'm just going to put 260 on mine, and then we'll see what happens. In today's market, and knowing this, once you put your home on the market, it's a product. And every single day your home sits on the market, the luster of that product goes away. It fades away. Okay.
As would say.
So with that being said, you got to understand there's a difference between pricing your home and actually what your home sells for. I'll say that one more time. There is a difference between what you price your home at and what your home actually sells for. If the home that is very similar to yours sold a month ago for $250, you should be pricing your home at $250, not $260, $275, $250, and maybe even $245. And if you have a strong agent that will market the hell out of your home to build the exposure and the demand for your particular property, you're going to have leverage to drive the price up possibly to where you want it to be. Now, you also got to be realistic because, again, you may not be able to get that 265, 275, 280 anymore because the buyers are just they're not doing that now. But you have to make sure that you are fully aware of the pros and cons if you put your home higher than what you should as far as price and the possibilities and how to course correct if you take that route. But that's up to your agent to make sure you're being fully educated on that.
Yeah, I will say, like, for a little bit, you could see, like, anybody could sell a house. Anybody could.
Yeah.
You could put your home on the market and then, oh, hey, my agent did great because our home was off the market in 2 days. Cool. It's not like that anymore. If your home is overpriced, or a number that you just
higher than a fair market value.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if it is not priced fairly for what everything else is going for around you, yeah, your home is going to sit because if it, like you said, if that house sold next to you for $250, you need to price it like that and then get the people to come in and see it and let them make the decision of going higher.
They determine the value at the end of the day. The market does. The market, aka the buyer. But these days, buyers are like, well, I'm not going to be my rate being what it is, and there's only one offer on the market on this home. I'm not going to go as high. So you're in a situation where you got to be smart from the very beginning and make sure you don't like over leverage yourself.
Right.
Because then you can find yourself catching the market, and that's where frustration sets in. So be careful about that. Again, that's your agent. That's going to be their job to make sure they're educating you on that. Okay, so that is the current state of the market in our market. We're still seeing homes sell about 80 to 81% of homes that get listed are selling. Okay, and that factors in the pretty much Lafayette stretching up to about Fort Wayne and stretching down to about Crawfordsville area. Okay, and all around there. We're talking around 81% of homes are still selling. Average sales price is still creeping up a little bit. And we're still seeing homes sitting on the market that are actually being sold in less than 30 days. Okay. And the ones that are still active today, you're seeing right around 43 to 45 days still active. And typically, if they're still active today and it's been 40 something days, they're probably overpriced. Okay. And they just need to be repositioned back on the market. And I'm not going to get into what that means. That will be, if you're looking to buy or sell, we could talk about strategies that we use to make sure you're put in the best position to win in today's market. Now, I'm going to package it up like this and we're going to end it. So we're over the past, I would just say historically, honestly. And by the way, I have all this data in my head. Like I study this stuff all the time. But normally you see between 5 and 6 million homes being sold per year nationwide. Okay. Last year, we saw 6.1 million homes being sold. 2021 was like crazy, right? This year, we're probably going to see right around 5.6, 5.8 being sold. there could be a 16% decrease in homes sold overall nationwide. What does that mean? It doesn't really have to mean anything to you, because whatever it is you want to do, whether it's selling for top dollar or buying and securing the best, like a great rate today, and also finding the home of your dreams, it can all still be done today.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is there will be some buyers that may have some challenges to get through, because maybe that young family that has a pretty nice sized family needs that 4-bed, 2.5 bath, and it's just a little out of their price point now. All right. But it can still be done. And I want to give hope and optimism to people out there. If you have goals to buy or sell this year, the least you can do is to look into it and see what your options are. If you're looking to buy, find out what you can get pre-approved for, what the monthly payment would look like. Talk to a professional agent, someone who really is in this market every day selling homes and really studies the data, what that process will look like for you, because it's going to be different for you versus probably your neighbor, because you both got different financial situations and you both got different life situations. Okay. But the net of all this, don't give up. Don't give up. There's still optimism. I'm not going to give you a prediction. We don't know what's going to happen 6 months from now or even 3 months from now. I'm very confident that we're going to be in a position where, again, close to 6 million homes again being sold, 5.6, 5.8. By the way, in 2008, 2009, around those times where the crash was happening, do you know how many homes were still being sold? Like between 5 and 5.5 million homes.
Mm-hmm.
Like right around 5. I mean, we're talking, when people are talking about crash, there are still homes being sold and bought every day. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're not in a crash. We're not in a correction. We're not even really in a recession yet. There could be one coming, but if we're in a recession, that doesn't mean home values go down.
And we have a video about that.
Yeah, we talked about that previously. So talk to your professional, talk to the people you trust, and get the real information. And all the mass media and all the conversations that you hear from people who are not in the market, I would recommend be kind and listen to them, fine, but just make sure you verify with someone who you know is in the market every day. So I'm gonna end it there. I told you it's going to be a little longer than normal. Lauren, if people have questions, concerns, if they even disagree with us, how can people reach out to you to get that clarity?
So you can reach out to me on Facebook at Lauren Whitaker. You can also reach out to me via my business number, and that's 765-204-2690. Or you can even email me at lauren@slreg.com. And I will say, just to piggyback off of you, I hear people say market crash, market crash, market crash. And I'm like, I challenge people just because that's who we are. Yeah. I'm like, where did you hear that? Like, can you send me the facts? Can you send me the data? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I love to educate. Mm-hmm. I love to give that information out. Like, hey, that's actually not what is happening. Here's articles, data, back up to what I'm saying. So, and then they come in for a consultation. So
yeah, and listen, we're going to give you the truth. One thing about us is, listen, if there was a crash right now, we'd be on here talking about, okay, there's a crash now, so here's the next best move for you. Mm-hmm. The reality is it's just not a crash. It's none of that happening. If you're waiting for a crash, you're going to be missing out on a lot of opportunities. And I guarantee you, there are people right now who were waiting on a crash in 2020 and are now kicking themselves because they're like, dang, I should have took advantage of the low rate. Right? And I was telling people back in 2015 that you need to buy today. You need to buy, because now those people that took advantage that I've been helping over the past 8 years, I can't even fathom, if I totaled up the amount of equity combined, how much money they have combined of all the people I've helped, millions of dollars, okay? Mm-hmm. Again, those people made the right move simply from having an open mind and taking just the advice that I gave them. And that advice was, let me learn more about my situation, and so I can decide from there. And then now people now have bought homes and literally within a year or two have upsized into literally their dream home.
Yeah.
And really they made so much money from their sale, they bought the new one. Everything was taken care of. They didn't have to come out of pocket with nothing and actually cashed in money. So anyways, we're going to end it there because I can keep going.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to Tristan. You want to give him a shout out?
Yeah. Hey.
You said SLREG on top, or SLREG on top. Media is misled about a lot of real estate information. Love what y'all continue to do. Spread awareness on what matters. Thank you, brother. And you know our commitment. That's what we do. We're just bringing the reality, the truth. So we're going to end it there. Let me actually remove this real quick so we can see. But again, yeah, we appreciate you guys being on here. We're going to put this on YouTube. You can watch this as a replay on Facebook as well. And like Lauren said, if you have any questions, reach out to her. We'll see you guys next week. Y'all stay safe. Take care.